Welcome back to Caps Hockey Review. With you once again with a couple games to break down. The Tampa Bay Lightning were in Washington on Saturday, and the Colorado Avalanche made their only trip to the district this evening on Tuesday. Plenty to talk about. Let's get into it. Caps Hockey Review, here we go. And off we go. Caps Hockey Review underway yet again. Well, 2 games to break down. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the Lightning just because my discussion and my breakdown of this game can be summed up very easily. The Caps probably should have won that game. I'll say that. They deserved a better fate than they got. They played a very good game against, quite frankly, a strong team. Now, we've seen the Lightning struggle so far this year, but you don't become back-to-back Stanley Cup champion for no reason. So, Saturday night, that was a measuring stick game. And that's what every game Tampa plays is going to be this year. Every opponent that comes into Tampa's building or Tampa's walking into their building, that opposing team is using that game to see, okay, where do we stack up? That's how it goes. You get the defending Stanley Cup champion. Everybody else is looking to see, how do we stack up? Are we better? Are we worse? How much better? How much worse? That's just the reality of life as a defending Stanley Cup champion. You have a target on your back every night, and so far this year, I don't think the Lightning have done a very good job with it. Obviously, a bad loss on opening night. You raised the banner, and I think that was the most exciting part of the evening for those fans in attendance. And then the Detroit game, I mentioned that briefly for the Lightning. Really fortunate to get out of Detroit with a win. And then, quite frankly, very fortunate to get out of Washington with a win. A last-minute overtime goal got it, pulled it out of the fire for the Lightning, but the Caps played an extremely good game. I don't think the Caps have anything to be disappointed about in that game, other than the fact that maybe that Alex Ovechkin goal, or would have been goal, was pulled off the goal line by Vasilevsky. It wasn't a goal. I'm not here to say it was a goal. All I'm saying is the Lightning were probably about 2 or 3 inches away from losing that game. So I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not spending a ton of time on the Lightning. I will touch briefly Nikita Kucharov, former Hart Trophy winner, probably the best player on the Lightning, injured in the Capitals game. Well, we saw this last year. I mean, Kucherov missed all last year after off-season surgery. Okay. He sits out all year and then comes back for the playoffs, and the Lightning were way over the salary cap, but as we know in the playoffs, it doesn't count, so who cares? And with this most recent injury update on Kuch, it's coming out that John Cooper has said, head coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning, John Cooper, has said it's not a day-to-day issue. This meaning he's going to miss some time. Whether he needs surgery or not, it looks like a groin injury, muscle pull type injuries, even if it's not a tear, they're nagging. It really sucks. It just takes time to heal, and you have to stay off. It sucks. But I would guess, I don't think he's going to sit for the rest of the season. I don't think we're going to see anything like we saw last year. And if we did, I think the NHL would probably have to revisit their whole no salary cap in the playoffs situation. But definitely interesting news. A little bit just as a hockey fan, kind of stepping back from the Caps. Kind of interesting. It'll be interesting to see if maybe the Lightning take the opportunity to reevaluate who else is in their lineup and maybe do a little bit of shopping. We'll see. But I'm not here to discuss the Lightning, so I'll leave it at that. For the Caps, back in action on Tuesday night, the Colorado Avalanche make their only visit to the District of Columbia this season. Another big game. Kind of another measuring stick game, honestly. I would say out of the Western Conference, the Avs are probably the hot pick. They're probably most people's team to beat, if you will. Of course, you could stick the Vegas Golden Knights in there and, possibly a few others. But for the Caps, another good test. I mean, the first 3 games in this season, they've all been tests. I mean, the Rangers are a team that is ready to kind of run again. They had a couple down years and they kind of rebuilt a little bit, but they're kind of ready to start making their runs again. And then obviously we know what the Lightning are and we know what the Avs are. So great test for the Caps to start the season, and they've come through with flying colors. I'll just say that, and I'll kind of dive deeper into that here in a minute. But pregame notes for the Caps. The only lineup, well, I guess 2 lineup changes technically. First off, Hendrix Lapierre comes out from his third-line center position, healthy scratched. Connor McMichael slots in. This battle is going to continue, and we're just seeing the start of it, of course. With Nicholas Backstrom out, this spot is up for grabs between these two, and one of them's got to jump up and grab it. Much like this goalie situation, it's going to continue until somebody separates themselves as the definitive number 1 choice. So, little change there up front for the Caps. Lapierre had a really, really good NHL debut, regular season debut against the Rangers. Struggled against the Lightning. That line really didn't generate too much. Oshie was kind of up and down between that, and then kind of splitting time with Ovechkin and Kuznetsov on the top line as well. So this is going to continue. I wouldn't say I like one more than the other at the moment. McMichael had a pretty quiet night on Tuesday. And also, moving past this and moving into the other lineup change, Ilya Samsonov gets his first start in net for the Caps this season. Really, I mean, if Laviolette really wanted to ride the hot hand, he would have stuck with Vitek Vanacek here. I mean, V squared has been fantastic these first 2 games. And quite honestly, I think it might be his job to lose if we're being honest here. I mean, Samsonov, obviously, last season was not the better option of the 2 and kind of struggled in the preseason as well. So Vanacek obviously gets the first start. He had a better camp. He had a better preseason than Samsonov, so he earned the right. And head coach Peter Laviolette came out and said, look, Sammy's going to get the net. I don't want him to get cold. I don't want him to sit around and wait too long. I want to keep everybody on rhythm, on pace, just comfortable. So right now, these 2 battles, that third line center battle and the goaltender battle, are going to be the 2 to watch for this team right now. Getting into the game. Great game for the Caps. All around. Heavily outshot the Avs, out-hustled, outplayed, outscored, of course. Everything about this game, the Caps owned from pretty much start to finish. Even face-offs. Everybody here knows, everybody who watches this knows, it drives me bananas that the Caps cannot find a way to win face-offs on a consistent basis. And they won that battle tonight. They outdid the Avalanche in face-offs. Caps winning just over 55% of the face-offs on the evening. So really great job all around. Lars Eller was outstanding. Nick Dowd was outstanding. TJ Oshie and Evgeny Kuznetsov both went 50%, which is still great, especially for Kuz, face-offs have never been his strong suit. Really good. McMichael a little bit lower at 42%, but he's a young guy. There's plenty of room for improvement, and there's plenty of time to improve as well, so I think we'll see that. really, I mean, just solid all around. I think the Avs obviously had a couple goals come off the power play. That'll happen. I mean, if I need to come up with a couple knocks on the Caps for this game, I would say staying out of the box, especially with these new cross-checking rules. I was a proponent of this rule. I think the cross-checks, especially in the playoffs, have gotten a little bit out of hand, and very blatant, very violent cross-checks are not being called when they should. And hard cross-checks or cross-checks and net battles are part of the game, but getting cross-checked in the lower back as hard as somebody possibly can, that's not part of the game, and that's quite honestly what the NHL is trying to clean up. So these new rules are going to take some getting used to, but we saw some pretty, like, if I'm being honest, we saw some pretty soft cross-checks get called on both sides. So I credit the refs for that. If you're going to call the soft ones, you got to call them on both sides, and they did. So this is probably going to take some getting used to, like it did with the slashes when the NHL cracked down on the slashes on the stick, on the hands, the face-off rules. It's going to take some getting used to, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So if I have one knock on the game, the Caps just be a little more mindful of those sticks. We saw a couple slashing penalties against them, a couple cross-checks. Just know where your stick is. That's something you're taught very early on. You got to be aware of where your stick is at. It's your responsibility. So that's really my one knock for the Caps tonight. Pretty good. I mean, there's not much else to talk about as far as what they could improve. To touch on individual performances, I guess we'll dive in there just a little bit. Alex Ovechkin, empty net goal to seal it. 734th all time. He's climbing up the ladder even further. John Scott, buddy, your take's getting colder by the game, my friend. He's on pace to pass Brett Hull. I mean, at this pace, he's probably going to pass him in the next week or two. And then Yager, he's got Yager for third all time in his sights. We could see that one fall by January, February area if he keeps doing what he's doing. Also, we'll do a little sandwich here. We'll go good. Getting into what could be, maybe a little better. Ilya Samsonov. Obviously, kind of his chance to respond. And obviously, Vanecek's gotten the first two starts. You need to come out with a strong performance. And not to take away totally from Samsonov, because I think he did play a pretty solid game, all things considered. He hasn't seen the ice. I mean, he was injured in the preseason, so he hasn't really seen too much game action. So I think a lot of this will clean up. But he played pretty well. There, 3 goals against, less than 30 shots. Just the numbers on that are not fantastic, but I would say at least one, probably 2 of them weren't his fault. So I can't criticize too much here, and he got the number that counts. He got the win. 1 win in the column for Ilya Samsonov this season. Hopefully we keep going. But if I have to guess, I would imagine we will see Vitek Vanecek get the start on Thursday. And then finally, jumping back to Tuesday night just for a moment, Evgeny Kuznetsov. The man, goodness gracious, this guy might be back. He has struggled with consistency for the last 2-3 years, and I've said it countless times. When this guy shows up, when he's engaged, when he fires on all cylinders, he can take over a game. If he can do this consistently through a season, he could put up 100 points in this league without batting an eye. What he did tonight and what he can do when he's going, when he's on, when he's 100% engaged is something special. So I hope this continues. Having Ovechkin do Ovechkin things, we know what that is. Having Kuznetsov added in that mix, it makes the Caps so much more versatile. It makes them so much deeper, and it makes them so much more dangerous. So I really, really hope to see Kuz continue this throughout the year. Really good so far, though. He's up to, I believe, 6-7 points so far in the season through 3 games. So really, really good performances from him. this is a really encouraging sign. It's early. I don't want to get too excited yet, but banking some big points early, especially against the Rangers, a divisional opponent. They've got another divisional opponent in the Devils coming up on Thursday. Bank the points now. This division is not getting easier. It's getting harder. There's, off the top of my head, I mean, the Caps, Penguins, Flyers, Rangers, Islanders, Hurricanes, 6 teams right there, all pushing for the playoffs. In a perfect world where the Metro grabs both wildcard spots, only 5 of those get in. And with the Atlantic Division probably being just as competitive, it's safe. It might be a safe bet only 4 of these teams are going to make it in. So bank as many points as you can, especially against these divisional opponents. It may matter later down the road. So we'll find out Thursday. See if they can keep it going. I really hope they can. I'm really encouraged by what we've seen so far. I would expect to see Vitek Vanacek back in the net. He has been outstanding so far this year. I think Samsonov had a pretty solid game on Tuesday, but I don't think it was enough to keep V squared out of the net for a second game in a row. So look for Vanacek to get the start there. Also, that third line center battle, we'll see. I mean, McMichael, like I said, kind of quiet, but it's really anybody's game there. It's anybody's battle to win at that third line center right now. Nick Backstrom, of course, has missed 3 of at least 10 that we know he's going to miss. And from the sounds of it, he's still very in the early stages of kind of his rehab process. So very possible he's going to miss more than 10 to start this season. So all this, Kuznetsov doing his thing, Ovechkin doing his thing, Oshie, Mantha, Carlson, Orlov, Jensen. Nick Jensen was really good too, to jump back for just a minute, a goal and an assist. Jensen, I don't know if he's a late bloomer or what the deal is. He's late 20s, but he's kind of emerging as a really good defensive player in his own end, but who can also contribute offensively. So maybe the Caps found a diamond in the rough with that trade, and maybe they're getting a guy who's kind of blossoming a little bit late. So great things from the Caps so far. Hopefully we see him continue. There's a lot to be excited about here. We'll find out on Thursday. We'll see. It's going to be big. It's going to be a fun season. Hopefully they can keep it going. Go Caps.